It was a Tuesday, late. Colder than usual for October, the kind of damp chill that seeps into your bones. I'd worked a double shift at the diner, and all I wanted was to get home, peel off my shoes, and collapse into bed. I lived a few blocks from the bus stop, a walk I'd made countless times. But tonight, something was different. The street lights were flickering, casting long, distorted shadows that danced across the wet pavement. An almost unnatural silence hung in the air, broken only by the rhythmic drip of rain from the overhanging trees. I pulled my jacket tighter, quickening my pace. I just wanted to be home. As I passed a darkened alleyway, I noticed a van parked a little further down the street. It was a dark, nondescript van, the kind you wouldn't look twice at in daylight. But in the dim light, with the rain reflecting off its glossy surface, it seemed ominous. The windows were heavily tinted, impossible to see through. The engine was running, a low, throaty rumble that seemed to amplify the silence around it. I tried to ignore it, telling myself I was just tired and jumpy. But something about the van felt wrong. I felt eyes on me, watching me from within its dark interior. I glanced back, just a quick peek, but the van was still there, parked in the same spot, its headlights cutting through the rain. I started walking faster, my heart pounding in my chest. I kept my eyes fixed on the sidewalk, trying to ignore the growing sense of dread. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. A few moments later, I heard the soft crunch of gravel behind me. I didn't dare turn around. I just kept walking, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. Then, I heard the van's engine rev. It was moving, slowly, keeping pace with me. My blood ran cold. I knew what was happening. I knew I was in danger. I broke into a run, my feet pounding on the wet pavement. I could hear the van accelerating behind me, the engine roaring like a predator. I glanced over my shoulder and saw the van gaining on me. Two figures were visible in the front seats, their faces obscured by the darkness. They were leaning forward, their eyes fixed on me, and their expressions were blank. There was no anger, no malice, just a cold, detached focus that sent a shiver down my spine. I turned down a side street, hoping to lose them in the maze of residential houses. But the van followed, its headlights illuminating the narrow street like a spotlight. I was trapped. I ran as fast as I could, my lungs burning, my legs aching. I could hear the van's engine getting closer, the sound echoing through the quiet neighborhood. I knew I couldn't outrun them. Suddenly, I tripped, my foot catching on a loose paving stone. I hit the ground hard, the wind knocked out of me. I scrambled to my feet, but it was too late. The van had pulled up beside me, the passenger door sliding open. Two men stepped out, their faces still hidden in the shadows. They were tall, broad-shouldered, and moved with a chilling efficiency. They didn't say a word. They just looked at me, their eyes cold and empty. I knew what they wanted. I knew what was going to happen. I was terrified, paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I just stood there, waiting for them to take me. Then, a sound cut through the silence. A siren, growing louder, closer. A police cruiser rounded the corner, its blue and red lights flashing, illuminating the street. The two men froze, their eyes widening in panic. They glanced at each other, then back at me, their expressions a mix of rage and frustration. Without a word, they jumped back into the van, slammed the door, and sped off, disappearing into the night. I collapsed onto the sidewalk, my body shaking, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The police cruiser pulled up beside me, the officers stepping out, their faces etched with concern. They asked me what happened, and I told them everything, my voice trembling. They took me home, made sure I was safe. They told me I was lucky, that I had a close call. They were right. I was lucky. I haven't been the same since that night. I'm always looking over my shoulder, always scanning the shadows. I'm afraid to walk alone at night. I'm afraid of dark vans. I know I was almost taken. I know I almost became someone else's victim. And I know that if it hadn't been for those police officers, I wouldn't be here today. I'm telling you this, not to scare you, but to remind you to be careful, to be aware of your surroundings, to trust your instincts. Because you never know when you might be the next target.